15 days later, still no answers for the families of the 239 missing souls on board Flight 370. Just what are they going through, and where can they find answers? Joining me now is Heidi, founder of the nonprofit Aircraft Casualty Emotional Support Services. Heidi's fiance died aboard TWA Flight 800 that crashed off the coast of Long Island back in 1996. So obviously, Heidi, you understand what these families are going through. I understand that some of the loved ones of the missing passengers have actually been reaching out to you. What are they saying?
Right now, as we all remember, so many of us at Access all remember this waiting time. We've certainly, with so many of our air disasters, we just didn't have answers for so long, be it that we didn't have the remains or that it took some time to actually locate an aircraft. And right now, they're going through what we all remember going through, which is really fluctuating between clinging on to hope and then that looming specter that in some way they may never come back to us. And we have had thousands of calls for help to Access over the years, and we've had an increase in calls from people affected by past air disasters who are really reliving this and remembering this window. This early on time with all the air disasters is so difficult. It takes so long to get answers and to understand what happened. And we really all have been through this before. And that's really why I founded Access, is because every step of the phase with air disasters are so difficult.
Right.
And there really just aren't answers for so long.
Well, in this 24-hour-a-day news cycle, too, new information, little bits and pieces of details are emerging, like today's debris image that may not even be the plane. How does that play on families' emotions?
It's extremely difficult. I mean, at one point, people are very excited to start to get some information, but at the same time, the idea that they could potentially be gone is also extremely difficult. And I remember fluctuating back and forth and really waiting for answers for so long, and actually being at we had the Ramada Inn where we all met in New York, and just listening to these press conferences. It's extremely difficult, and you're clinging on to hope. You hear something and you think it might be true, and then that suddenly changes, and that's no longer true information. And that going back and forth with that is extremely difficult, and that's really why we're here, because we all know air disasters are just so unique. There's, all sudden losses are difficult. But with this, it really just takes so long to make sense of it. And even when information is found, we never know what their last moments were like. We never know if they were scared. We never knew if they knew that it actually, something bad was happening to them. And still, many years later, for me, I still wonder, what were Michelle's last moments like? What did he know? And a lot of us still hold on to that years later, trying to make sense of what they went through, and we never really have that answer.
No, it doesn't seem like you ever get that closure, at least some sense of it. I'm sure you've seen the videos of family members just overcome with grief and anger. It's really actually been so difficult to watch. Some of them screaming at the press conferences because they just want some information. What is your advice to them as they try to cope with what is surely unimaginable?
And what we've learned over time, and I've interviewed hundreds of people affected by air disasters and how they've gotten through it, and all of them really, at this time, really need to be able to vent their emotions in the way that they do. I remember in that room, we had people who were extremely quiet, we had people who were crying, we had people who were extremely angry, and just accepting that each person's going to go through their grief differently, and they're going to react in different ways. And embracing that and letting them vent in the way that they need to, because each person has their own way of coping with this most horrific incident. It's so difficult and it's so hard, and everybody's going to have their own way of expressing the emotion. And the most important thing the people there who are there to care for them can do is allow them to go through that process. Give them a safe environment to vent. Give them a safe environment to talk about their loved one and keep them alive. Even if it seems impossible that they could be alive, we needed that. We needed to hold on to that to get through. And then the next hour we might accept the fact that they could truly be gone. But I just remember the fluctuation was continuous throughout this time. And really having the support of others who allow people to grieve and do it in their own way is really what we've found most critical
Yeah, it's very hard.
And
but,
people
but
find most supportive is to really
Right.
be able to do what they need to do to get through it.
Yeah, because everyone experiences it a little bit differently, although they're going through essentially the same thing. Heidi, thanks for sharing your story and what you're doing to help those who are in desperate need at this time. Thank you.
Thank you so much.